I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. My apologies. Oh man, that is so silly of me. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyways, well, that would be fun. I'm gonna have to figure out how to splice those videos together. Uh, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyhow, man, I can't believe I. Oh, that's why I clicked stop stream because I wanted to click this. Yeah, again, my bad. Um, ugh. Right. So let me see. Um, mm, damn, that sucks. Oh well. Ah, man. Yeah, mistakes. You make mistakes. All right. So here's what we will do. So we have this here. We know that this query works, right? So in essence, what we want to do is set something up so that we can put values in these two places. So we can put values in these two places so that so that they can go searching for it. We know that this query works, and we know that pretty much everything here works. So what we are going to do is we're going to start playing around with the request itself. So const request equals reg, right? And then I guess we will console.log the request. Or we will console.log request and we'll see what we get. And then what we want to do is return that. Um, and then, or let's, let us, let us console.log it on its own. And then we will do return response status 200 dot um send request. So we'll do both. So right, so now what we are going to do is we are going to, oh, this isn't run, npm run dev. Now what we are going to do is we are going to ping this endpoint with post requests and see what we get back. So we have this here and we want a new request and we're going to put this request here. I think that's the end. Yeah. So localhost 5000 API / user. And instead of get, we want post. Um, let's see. Query body. Nope. 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 Query. So we will say test. Hello. Um, more tests. More hellos. More Steam. I'm being random. Oh, well, let's go with that. I'm being random now. I think that's fine. And then we will go send. And we got a error, 500 error. What is the issue that we got here? Ooh, this is, oh wow, this is a lot. What is the issue? All right. Error, circular, converting circular structure. Type error, that's weird. Um, but we got the console log. So I think we got the console log. get so we get the everything. Yeah. So in query we do get this stuff. Whatever for whatever reason. How do we stop the response? How do we stop this? Oh, here we go. Cancel request. Request has been canceled by the user. So we are getting the request. We're console logging the request. Uh, request dot query, but we are not sending a. Uh, let's do this query, and then instead of putting that there, let's do that, and then we will go back to the request, and then we'll go. Yeah, so now we're getting. Excuse me. Now we're getting just the request. Cool. So why is this not? All right. Whoops. Oh, that's. Hmm. All right, cool. I don't know why it's stuck in that loop. Um, here's what we will do. We will send this and see if that's the issue. Send request. And we will see if that's the issue. Send 200. Okay, yeah. So we get an object back. So that's simple enough, right? So now what we want to do, so what this means is that we just have to ensure that the request has the username and the password in it. And so what we will do, what I want to do, um, so now we have to check if um how do we the in, right? Let me check if an attribute exists, um, JavaScript, and I believe that is in. Uh, Not attribute, sorry. For in object, in operator. Use the in operator. So yeah. Uh, result equals age in, yeah, false. So yeah, so the in operator will check if this exists in the object. Um, so what we will do is here we will go. We have the query query. So in here we will go if um, user name. Do I want username? Okay, hold, but let me look at the best practices for constructing a query. Best practices constructing. Um, not SQL query. Um, for constructing a post, a HTTP post. Best practices for you. Let's go with that. Nouns, yes, get, post, put, delete. Okay, I just want to know first name const. So that get first name. I'm going to assume um, concatenation is something that we want. I'm going to go with concatenation. All right, cool. So if user on this, if this is in query and user and password is in query. If those things are in query, then do I want, so if these are a yes, and if user if username is not equal to null and username is not equal hmm, this I don't know how to do that. I feel like there's a better way of ensuring that I think there's a better way of ensuring that that these have a value that's a string. Um, okay, either way, we can figure that out later. So right now, we check if username and password is in the query. We check if those attributes are in query. If they're not in query, then we don't care. Um, cool beans. In essence, what we are going to do, because this will eventually end up there, so we are going to move this code in there. Yeah, we're going to move this code in here. Oops. For now, because eventually this will actually literally be let's see. Um so so I guess we can make this a const. We don't need this to make this a const, and then this can be a const as well. Const constructed username password equals query. Cool. So but for now, and then we will go here password, and that will be that. But for now, what we want to do is we want to go, if these things exist, if those things are true, then uh, this, let's take this, cut it, and let's paste it here. Tab that. I want to tab that. 1, 2, 3. Doo-doo-doo. And yeah, so for now we will just do that, and then else, if they don't exist, then we want to return a response of status um, uh, 400 dot send um, user name or password is not in the request. And yeah, so it will check, and we were guaranteed to get to a return. I think we can do that. We're guaranteed to get to a return. So in essence, if I send the same request, it should give us that error, or it should go crazy. Username is not defined. Username is not defined. Why? What? Yeah, that's the whole point. Reference error. Username is not defined. Ooh, let's see. Connected. Username is not defined. Let's see what the issue is. Username. Oh, my bad. Yeah, and then query dot and query dot password. Pretty sure there's a better way of doing this, but yeah, save. Uh, that's no, but we should get the error that I want to get now. Yep, cool. So it says, hey, you don't have username or you don't have password in the request that you're sending. Um, wow, I actually even guessed right. It's a bad request. Um, you don't have username or you don't have password in the request that you're sending. So, how do we, give me one moment, the bathroom she calls, but what we will do is I want to I want to see only username and password. If the request is anything more than that, even though it doesn't matter because I'm only pulling out username and password, but if the request is anything more than that, I want to be upset. So I want the endpoint to be upset. So I'm going to invest some time in that. Um, right after I go to the bathroom. 1 minute. I've returned. Aha! Okay, so right. So like I said before, what I want to do, and I don't know, um, I want to check. I can do a few things. I want to check that the query parameters are only username and password. Um, and first of all, what I will do is in the controller, I will go. This is not necessarily the best error, but there is something wrong with your request. Um, it's not the best error, but for now. But what I want to do is to figure out a way so that when I send, so when a request is sent, we we can check how many how many things are in the request. Um, and if there is if I can specifically check if username and password is in the request, I guess we could do that. But does that even matter? If it's like, I guess not. Yeah, let me not worry about that. I was so my thought process was if excuse me, my thought process was if um if you send anything more than username and pass, I mean, granted, I'm not using it, but I'm just still a little bit iffy. If you're sending anything more than username and pass in the request, then I want to get upset. But I don't know if that's actually a big deal or not. Um, but yeah, let me just assume that it's not that big of a deal, and let me just kind of go. So here we can just uncomment this out. Well, we'd have to comment this out. That's not what I wanted. Uh, Let me just write a damn comment. And then we will uncomment all of, I need to not do that. We will uncomment all of this out. And so what we should have, uh, let's see. Actually, let me see something. So from here, this is cool. Alright, I'm just gonna put this here. Yeah, so what we should have is we should have a mechanism. Let me say this. We should have a mechanism that says, okay, there is a username and a password in the query and it's not empty. If it's not empty, then destructure the username and pass from query, and then put those into the SQL query, right? Put those into the SQL query, and then make a query to the database, and check if you get an error or not. If you don't get an error, then send the result to us. And so what I will do now is we will delete these things, and then we will go username is ChadRS, and then password is haha pass here. And this should give us a 200. Yes, it does. Huzzah! Brilliant. But I also want to check If, say, for instance, we put in the username wrong, it finds nothing. It still gives, I do not want that, so I am going to, that is not what I want. I am going to go here and what I will do is write an if statement here. If result is empty, equal, sorry, if result is equal to this, I believe that's what it is. Yeah, if result is equal to that, then return res status. I'm gonna put 200 dot send no user was found. But I'm going to look up the proper error code um, here. So it could be a bad request error code. No user found HTTP code. Yes, this is exactly what I want. 404. Why not? Resource not found and applies to any entity for which a request. A 404. Okay, 404. Haha, I've written a 404. I feel special. All right, yeah, no user was found. So here, um, if user is, I think null. No, I'm well, I will find out what is and send. Yeah, result is that cool. So uh, let's go with null. If result is equal to null. In fact, in that situation, let's just console log what result is. Let's just console log what result is for now. Uh, so here, return response dot status 200 dot console dot log result. I don't know if this will work, but we will. Oh, what's up, Matt? Thanks for stopping in. We're working on some API stuff. Ooh, error exploded. Um, hey, what's up, man? We're working on some stuff here. So I'm writing Node code because I like that statement. I'm writing Node, some Node stuff. We are working on endpoints, so I will give you an update in a minute. I just want to get this kind of working. Console.log result, and then let's see if we. Uh, it says empty. So what am I? Okay, I'm gonna do the. I'm gonna do the. Cool. All right. So, I don't think you've been here for any of the node sessions. So, you might have been here for, I don't remember, but you might have been, let me actually pull the chat up. Sorry. Yeah, you know it's gonna be dope when it's broken on stream. It's like scheißen. Um, mhm. I'm not sure when the last time you were in here, but I'll give you an overview of what we have so far. Um, so we have we have a few files. Let me go to File Explorer. We have a few files. We set up a Node server, which this is pretty much a server, and it's in the MVC design pattern. So this is just setting up the server and then all the multiple stuff. So we have a bunch of routes for how we want to we have a bunch of routes for how we want to do the what you call it. We have a bunch of routes for how we want to do the how we want to interact with the database. So we have the routes set up. This is just for to accept JSON. Um, I believe that's how that works. And yeah, this is to actually use the routes, right? And then we have the server set up and everything. So we have the routes here. The routes are in their own route file. And right now we are just having them with all the what you call it? Um all the yeah, been a minute. We were talking about how you bring snacks on stream. Yeah, I actually forgot about that too. But for the most part, what I do is I just make sure I have dinner before the stream starts because I would have dinner around 5 or so. So I just make sure to have dinner when before the stream starts. I actually need to because I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with that. I probably need to make this a get routes for API. Yeah, so we have a actually yeah yeah I'll have to figure out how to better express this. But so we have routes for the API, and each route has a there's a controller for the route, and then the controller has a bunch of functions. So we are mostly working with user right now, but all the what you call it, all um the routes are defined. We have an index route, but I don't see the point of it, so I'll probably get rid of it. Um, Here we go. So we've mostly been in user since the user table doesn't actually take anything. So we've mostly been in user, and we've mostly been playing around with this. So right now, really and truly, what we have is just we have a SQL query, and we at first we were just trying to we would we would just do a get, and then it would run the SQL query and send us the result. Now what we're doing is now what we're doing is we are this is set up to be a post, and so what will happen is that it will look for username and password. If it's not there, then it will get salty, it will get mad, it will say, hey yo, there's something's wrong with your request. If it does find username and password, then it will deconstruct. Oh, if it finds it and it's not empty, it will deconstruct it, and then it will try to make the query. Um, what we're working on now is trying to set up that if the result is null, if nothing was found, I want this to go, oh, no user was found. That's the idea right now. But for the most part, that's what we're working on. We're not going to be working on it for too much longer. That will probably be the last thing for today. It's like literally 2 minutes before my phone starts yelling at me. But it'll probably be the last thing we're working on today. But I would like to get that done. Send. So what I'm trying to figure out is, let me save this. What I'm trying to figure out is if the result is, um, if the result is null, how do I say that in the if statement so that I can get this to run? That's what I am trying to figure out right now. But I do not know how to do that. And I mean, yeah, I guess the response is null. That doesn't necessarily mean result is null. So, I am going to console log result somewhere. Console.log result. But yeah, that's kind of the goal right now, is to try and get this to work. It's an empty array, but when I maybe I'm being too specific. So it's an empty array. What am I doing? Da. So I don't think it's empty. It's not null. Equal. Let's do that. Time for cheeky error messages. No cookies for you. Yeah, I should do that. I should do that. I should send messed up messages. I'm trying to figure out how to. Alright, you know what? You know who knows? Google knows. Google knows. Google always knows. Um, what is a response? What is SQL response to? I don't even know how to ask this question. Uh, no user found. Um, no user phone. Node express endpoint. That's one. Let's see that. Uh, how to handle not exists. Thanks. This is exactly what I need. XX. Uh, hmm. How do I do this? How do I do this? I just need to figure out what the what result looks like. I just need to figure out what result looks like when uh say question again. So, all right. I want to I want to check that result actually has something in it, and then I want to send that. If result doesn't have anything from it, so say for instance we make this SQL query and there's then it can't find a username, or it can't find if or it can't find this specific thing, like it can't find the username or the password, and so the result you get back from SQL is empty. What do are we play? Not necessarily. So the status code is fine. I just need to figure out a way to check that result is empty. I just don't know what that looks like for some silly reason. So whenever I console log result, I get an empty array. Why am I I get an empty array? So if result dot length is is um is equal to 0. I'm sorry. I went there. I'm literally just saying it to you. And I was just like, wait, I'm getting an empty array. I'm getting an empty array. And I was like, wait, it's an array. Why am I not checking the length? We fixed it. Oh man. Okay. Okay. I know I'm smart. I'm smart. I are smart. Yeah. I literally said so. The result is an array, but da, 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 like wait, if it's an array, I can check its length. um. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it like that because I don't want to write. I don't want to write a else. This is fine. This line is fine. Um. What I will do, since these are the return lines, um, uh, yeah. So yeah, this is a little bit more concise. A rubber ducky, yeah. You just have to say it, man. You just have to. Sometimes you just have to say it aloud. The rubber ducky method works. You know, I'm telling you, the rubber ducky method works. Don't let anyone fool you. Anyways, that is it. So we have this more or less working in some fashion of the way that we want it. So in essence, say for instance we wanted to check, well, we would want to check if the user existed, and we wanted to check that there was a user, right? We would we would query the database to check if the user name exists and the username exists with this password, right? However password is, yeah. Return result 0. Um, return result 0. Uh, hmm. Return result 0. Nah, I mean, like for instance, return result 0. Like I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I like this better. Just checking the length. And it's like, oh, no user was found. I like checking the length better. Um, in the middle of this, I realized that it's possible in the database to have a username and a password that is exactly the same. And so this can potentially have two. I don't think, I guess I guess we can make queries to make sure that we only enter a single username and password, but into I will actually look into what you call it, if the database can do it on its own, because I'd much rather the database do it than my application do it, because that's just more complexity for the application. But yeah, that's something to think about. But we have this section done. That's pretty good. Like it does what we need to do. So I'm not sure what we'll do next. We may do new user, but I'm not sure what we will do next. But yeah, we have this section done, and I feel fairly confident in this being fairly good. Like, um, yeah, um, you need unique index on username. Yeah, so the username has unique indexes, but like that we still from the application is not going to know, um like yeah, the application is not going to know, like say for instance we have the same username and the same password somehow, so we will get more than one of them. The application, and I mean, really and truly, the username just needs to be unique. If the username is in the table in any way, shape, or form, then we don't accept a new one. We don't accept a new one. But if the username is if there's two records with the same username and the same password but different IDs, more than likely what will happen, the way I'm probably going to build it, it will select the first one. It will select the first one, and but that might be the wrong username. So like I said, we just need to somehow ensure that there's no duplicate username at the very least. We can have duplicate passwords, that's fine, but there's no duplicate username, right? But I want to see if I want to figure out if I have to build that in myself or if I can have the DB do it somehow. I would much rather the DB do it because yeah, I would just much rather the DB do it. Yeah, if the if that's their app doesn't need to handle duplicates, really? Uh, if you need unique ID, if you have a unique index on username. Wait, when you mean unique index on username, if you actually say, for instance, um if I put a unique number on 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 the username on in the username field, so it's like I will take the username and then I will take the what you call it, I'll take the username and then I'll add a number to the end of the field, or to the end of the entry. Is that what you're talking about? Or unique index to the actual to the record? DB can do it. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I'm a little bit confused as what you mean by a unique index. Because each the table has an ID. So you have user ID, right? But yeah, just kind of explain that a little bit more, if you don't mind. Regardless, ooh, I am getting a message, y'all. Regardless, this is done. Like I said, pretty happy with this. This is done. So unique index. Okay, I will do that. I will do that as soon as this thing lets me do that. MySQL unique index to prevent duplicates. Create unique index. Um, da da da. To create a unique index, you use unique index statement as follows: create unique index on table. Da 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 da. Another way to enforce the uniqueness of a value, you can have more than one index. Um, Another way to enforce the uniqueness of value in one or more columns is to use a unique constraint. When you create a unique constraint, MySQL creates unique index behind the scenes. Um, cool. Definitely, definitely. So what I am going to do here is I'm going to write a comment here because I'm probably going to completely forget. I'm going to write a comment here, um, right here. Um, Modify DB to use unique index. Um, and so when we come back, I will do that. I will modify the DB to use a unique index so that I don't have to worry about duplicates. Um, thank you very much. Because like I said, I just realized that a little bit ago. But yeah, column has to be a certain type. Varchar, I think. It's a varchar. But yeah, if anything, I can just change the schema a little bit. Or I can just change the table definition a little bit to make it work. But yeah, I will definitely do that. Um I think for the username table, that's the only thing that needs to be unique. Password doesn't need to be unique. I don't know if that's yeah, password doesn't need to be unique. But yeah, more or less this endpoint is finished. We may extend the endpoint as we realize that there's more that we need for the DB. Well, sorry, for the project. But for the most part, this endpoint is finished. If we need to look up a username, we can just send a request to this endpoint, and it will look up a username for that. It will look up the username and pass and get it backward and get it back. So like here, I wouldn't be. I This might be a good place to work on, a good thing to work on now. On Next, since again it doesn't really rely on anything else. But then we get to really mess around with encrypting the password and then getting the password unencrypted, or encrypting the password, putting it in the DB, and then getting the password on in well, then um getting like uh some text, or yeah, some text, encrypting that, and then checking it on the the user, and then on the table, and yeah. So we could do this, and then we can mess around with saving passwords as plain text, or saving passwords as something else other than plain text, because as of right now the passwords are in plain text. um but yeah, yes sir. So that's pretty much it. Let me go back to um let me do that, and I guess we'll do that. Let me, sorry, let me, so I killed that. Um, Git add, let's check the status, git status. We modified those two things, git add everything. Git commit dash m, uh, completed, completed user get end point. We can now query API for a specific user, and password. Cool, cool beans. So yeah, the endpoint is pretty much done. Let me get up and stretch now that I have that actually done. But yeah, the endpoint is pretty much done. Let me make sure that y'all can't see. Cool. Uh, da, 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 da. Yeah, the endpoint is pretty much done. Um, and that's it, for today. You don't decrypt passwords. Yeah, yeah, I just realized that. Yeah, you don't decrypt it. Yeah, you got it. One-way encryption. Yeah. So let me start moving around. You so you put a password in, and it encrypts the password and sends it to the DB, and so the DB gets it as madness, right? As jumbled madness, right? When you are checking for that password, what you are essentially doing is trying to put in the same the same letter sequence, so that when it goes through the encryption, it will end up as a jumbled mess, but it will end up as the same jumbled mess that's in the database. And obviously that same jumbled mess has to match the username that you're also looking for. You don't necessarily encrypt the username. I guess you can. Like, what's the point? Especially since you actually use the username for other things. And then if you encrypt the username, then you actually have to decrypt it, because again, anyways, let me stop doing that. But yeah, that's pretty much how passwords work. And then you, there's levels of encryption, and it makes it ridiculously hard to guess passwords, or it makes it harder to guess passwords. And then the funny thing about about using passwords is that you use a password, and technically that password is on the what you call it machine, is on the machine of is on a machine that's not that you don't own. So in essence, you're handing this information over. But like DBAs can't just look at the password and be like, oh, this is that. You know what I mean? So they can. Yeah. Make sure hashes match rather than passwords match. Yeah. So it's not, you don't check the password itself. You check what the password hashes to. That's what it's called. It's a hash. So the resulting encryption is generally referred to as a hash, and then you put the hash in the DB, and you make sure that you put it in properly. But you put the hash in the DB, and then you check. Then when you put your password in, it hashes, and then you check the hash on what's in the DB, and if they match, then it's the same password. Also make sure that your hashing function stays the same. Yeah, the only thing about usernames is that sometimes backwards won't confirm whether usernames exist for security purposes. Oh, backends won't confirm whether usernames exist for. Yeah. Like there are some, like you'd see this on in some things where like you have a login form, and then you will type in your username and password, and there's two potential errors you can get. Technically three. There's three potential errors you can get. The potential error number one is your username and password does not match. Username or password does not match, and you cannot tell which one does not match. And then the other potential, well, I guess it's two. The other potential error is your username matches, but your password doesn't match. Um, well, I guess it's three. And then the other error that you can get is that there is no user in this database. And so you generally want to stay away from the other two. You generally want to just say there's no your username or pass does not match anything in our records, so that an attacker does not have a clue that at the very least one of the pieces of their information work. Because if that's the case, then they can try to brute force the password because they already know that the username exists. Um, as opposed to trying to have to brute force the username or password. And that's the reason why, like after like 3 or 4 tries, you get things like captchas and stuff like that to stop people from brute forcing passwords. Because people make silly passwords. People make passwords like pass, you know, or like Kobe Bryant, you know, all lowercase. And how long does that? That takes a couple of hours. I don't think it takes that long. It takes a couple of minutes to a couple of hours to brute force with modern machines. You know, like literally trying every single combination until one of the combinations is Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? And then a big thing too. Give me a second. Yeah, a big thing too. Oh, Nightbot. Nightbot doing his job now because there's more than one. There's more than one thing. Let me actually read through this because I wasn't reading through it. I was just kind of mumbling. The only thing hackers approach is to have a big dictionary of common passwords and their hashes, and then they get DB data, they can back out passwords. There's one reason that your encryption technique could use salt, where you add a little something to all passwords prior to hashing, and that salt is not kept in the same place as user data. Ah, that's interesting. That is really interesting. That's something we should play around with. We should definitely play around with hashing passwords next time, since it's something relatively, it's not simple, it's obviously complex, but in terms of our schema, it is simple. Our data, or our application, it is simple. Like like making I don't know, hashing passwords and doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. That's interesting. I definitely think we will play around with that next time. So in essence, next time we'll be working on this. But yeah, let me go and let me put put on the webcam. Hi, everybody. um, so I don't really have a topic, and this is I'm saying this more often. I don't really have a topic to talk about today. Um, I usually, yeah, I don't really have a topic to talk about. Um, let me go and I had articles. So one of the times that I did this, I had articles that I wanted to write, and I just kind of talked about them a little bit on stream. Um, but yeah, I just talked about them a little bit. So uh, yeah, let me go look up these articles. Um, and then I think that will work. Where's the I have a reading content creation. Here we go. Oh, stream. Backend notes. That is not. Where's articles. I should put this on the content creation. I'm gonna put this on the content creation. I'm sorry, random. I'm I'm tidying up while okay. Oh, this is not the articles idea that I had. Ah man, where is this? I'm sorry, this is taking so long. Love the face and personality take. Oh, yeah, yeah, it was pretty funny. Like when I saw it, I was just like, I'm kooky. I might as well just do something kooky, and so I did that. I was actually having a hard time because I wanted to what you call it? I wanted to put just a still image and then put a GIF beside it, and I was just like, I don't think that's gonna work. I think if there's a still image and a GIF, like I think it's only one or the other. I don't think it will take both of them. So I was just like, let me make a video. And then I was trying to get the still image and the video beside each other, but I was doing the video editing on my phone, and my video editing on your phone with just the Android application is bleh. Let me not unbutton all of my. Let me kind of unbutton, a little bit more loose, right? But yeah, so I was just like, you know what? Let me do this. Let me just make the still image, and then let me make the let me make the still image, and then let me make the video right afterwards. And I think that actually worked out much better than anything else I had come up with, because in essence, you're just sitting there, you're looking at the still video, and the only issue is if you look at it, you don't think it's a video, and you might just scroll past it. But if you look at it, all of a sudden I'm doing something silly, and like it just looks cool, and it has sound too, which I thought that was something I also didn't want to lose because I thought the sound was funny. Um, Actually, you know what? Let me bring it up. Let me show it on stream really quickly. Um, because it's not all that hilarious. So just I don't know. I need to fill the time with something. So I'm gonna do that. There it is. So I'll bring it up. Uh, oh, I guess you know that it's a video because it has the big play button. I don't know if I guess people might have autoplay. Let me go to OBS. Uh, so yeah, it's just. Oh wait, you can't see it, so you can't hear it. So let me turn this on temporarily, and then it's just- it makes me laugh every time I see it. Oh man, hold on. Let me see if this where I hope you guys were able to hear it. Yep. too funny. Oh man. Yeah, that's me being stupid. Anyways, back to looking for these articles. I have articles that I wrote. Um, and I'm just gonna take something from them. And yeah, here it is. I need to move these so that they're easier to find. So one of the things I was talking about is visualizing and measuring your own impact. How to generate your own experience. Yeah, I can talk about this for a little bit. So, especially since it's kind of what I'm doing in the stream, right? So, generating your own experience as a software engineer. In the last thing that I was talking about in visualizing your impact, let me see what he said. I didn't know it had sound. What have I done? Yeah, like if you look on it, if you have autoplay in, however, and you look at it, it will autoplay, but I don't think it will play the sound, so you have to click on it to play the sound. Um, which I guess it doesn't matter because I guess it was funny enough without the sound. But anyways, let me go to the pseudo topic here. Um, Generating your own experience. So this is a big problem for junior engineers, generally for anybody who wants to get into the industry or into a specific part of the industry. Time for bed, sir. Oh, okay. All right, no problem, Matt. Thanks for stopping in, man. Thanks for stopping in. You have a good one. But yeah, this is generally a problem for juniors, anybody coming into the industry, but it's also a problem for people with experience, but not with experience with the specific technology that they want to start working with. I think I bring up Randall Kana a lot on the stream already, but she um talked about a scenario, and I might get the story wrong. If I get the story wrong and she sees this, I'm sorry. But she talked about a scenario. I think it was blockchain that she was interested in getting into. A little bit into her career. She had been working for a little bit, and so she didn't have any experience there, but she wanted to work either with this specific company or in the industry. It was one of the two. And so what she did was, for the company that she wanted to work for, she saw what technology that they were using, and she did a bit of a project which didn't even work all that well. Um, I think it broke when she tried to run it during her interview. But she built this little project. It didn't take her too long. I think it took her a weekend, and she built a project and she presented it to the company that she wanted to work for, and the company was impressed. Even if it broke, the company was impressed, and they hired her. Right? That is actually a fairly common scenario to happen, is that you want to work somewhere, and so you go look at their job description, and you realize that they're using a specific technology, or a very specific technology solution, or they're using a very specific solution, and you can just kind of make up a little toy project and then say, hey guys, or hey people, I don't really have that much experience, but look at what I made. Look at what I made with the stuff that you're using. Interesting, huh? And like that helps you stand out, and at the very least gets you interviews. It doesn't necessarily help you close the interview, get an offer, but it helps. It definitely helps you get interviews in the first place, right? Um, but what I want to talk about is something more than that. The issue, again, going back to juniors, is really a junior problem more than a senior problem. A lot of the times, seniors don't have the problem of being viewed as not having a lot of experience. In fact, I'll, I would say quite often, a senior will have a solid enough reputation where um they will people or solid enough reputation and network where if they're looking for a job they ping their network and they're like, hey, I worked with this guy, he's awesome, so I'm gonna work with him, so I'm gonna try and get him into this job. And that's literally how people get their jobs. You know what I mean? I don't want to say they don't interview per se, especially the bigger the company, the more likely they'll interview, but they will definitely get looked at for jobs that you may not see in job boards. Like people talk about the invisible job market, which is essentially is the job market that's not posted, um is not posted, what you call it, publicly. That's supposedly the invisible job market. I don't want to say I don't want to really get into a conversation about that because people have opinions on that. But there are definitely circumstances where where, say for instance, you apply for a position and they're like, maybe you don't fit this position, but we definitely want to work with you, and they will create a position for you. I have a friend, Todd Libby. If you, I probably shouldn't be putting his business out there, but yeah, yeah, you know, like you get positions opened up for you personally. Yeah, you get positions opened up for you. I feel really bad. I really shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put his business out there like that. Um, I don't know if he mentioned that publicly. Uh, well, if push comes to shove, I can delete this VOD. Um, well, that sucks. Well, I'm still gonna continue. I'll ask him, and then I'll ask him, and if he says no, then I'll do something. I can cut it out actually. I can cut it out. So if there's a very weird cut in the video on YouTube, it is because that Todd has said that he does not like the idea of me putting his business out there. Or ugh. Okay, all right. Let me go back. If there's a really weird cut on YouTube, that is because the person who I was mentioning before, or the person who I mentioned who I cut out, does not like the idea of me talking about their business. If there is no weird cut, then about you will hear me rambling. I probably should just cut it. At this point, I already have it set up in the video. Anyways, um, so yeah, like seniors don't necessarily have a problem finding jobs in that way because they have a strong network, right? That's one of the reasons why you have a strong network. For juniors, the issue that they always run into, I don't even want to say tend to, always run into, is that they don't have enough experience, right? But you need to get a job to get experience, right? Not exactly. So, what I propose is doing what something like I am doing is um literally, how do I put this? Is literally doing projects to gain experience and writing that on your resume as experience. And so what you do is you don't specifically do like tutorials. You do projects, and obviously the better the project, and I will define what better means in a moment, but the better the project is, the more valuable it is in your on your resume. So what is a better project? Well, let me explain. Let me explain the project, the better project. What is a better project? You know, pretty much a project that is fairly unique to you. So in essence, not you're the only person that could have built it, but you're the only person that built it. The closer you get to that point where you're the only person that built it, is the closer it is to being unique to you, and the closer it is to being interesting. Um, better is also subjective. So better to certain people, like for instance, you can make a to-do app, and the to-do app would be absolutely amazing to somebody who has no coding skills, right? Whereas you take a to that same to-do app to Microsoft, and they're going to stare at you and be like, okay, cool, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not going to be unique, right? So better is relative. And again, this goes back to the same thing about what's her name, about Randall, about Miss Kana, right? Where the from my understanding, the app wasn't particularly complex. Like, it was a blockchain thing, I believe. It was cryptocurrency thing, I believe. But the app wasn't particularly complex. Uh, yeah, the app wasn't particularly complex, but it was the technology. Not too many people were using it, and the company was using it, and so it was more interesting to them, you know. And but the main thing is getting. I guess the focus that I really want to keep is getting experience. Like those magical numbers that sit on in your experience, the 2019 to 2020, or the January 2019 till February 2019, those how to get those things and be truthful about it is you want to do projects, and then you just want to record how long you were working on it. In a practical sense, you want to record how long you were working on it, and then you want the project to be interesting, and that's how you can gain experience. Aaron Marks on Twitter, he puts it best. He actually said it here in the stream. Any any time you are writing code is experience, and it's experience relevant to somebody. And so the, what you really want to do is you want to make projects that that are interesting, and you gain experience from it. Like, again, I'll take myself. Literally, what I am doing is my backend experience is not that strong. Yeah, my backend experience is not that strong. Um, how do I put this? Yeah, my backend experience is not that strong. I'm working on my backend experience by literally taking a toy project and working on it. And then I'm working on it on stream so that everybody can see me working on it. But the most important thing is I'm working on it. And now I can put it in my resume as, hey, I made a to-do app with Node.js, with Node.js and MySQL and React. No, the application is not that great because everybody can make a. Or I don't want to say everybody, but it is significantly easier to make a to-do app with Node.js and MySQL and eventually React. It's not hard. You know what I mean? It's not all that unique. For me, as somebody who is more of a mid-level, closer to senior, probably more mid-level developer, it wouldn't be unique to me. Taking that same to do app and then putting it on AWS and then making it distributed and putting it in containers, that might be something more interesting as for a mid-level person, even getting closer to a senior level person, because those tools are difficult. And then a lot of times when you're doing all of that, those problems arise from that, and then you have to solve those problems, and all of that is experience, you know. And so that's kind of the idea for me, right? So I'm taking the to do app where the application itself is not that important. There's still a lot of learning that can happen, but application itself is not that important. But the process of getting it to a point where it's production ready is really important. And describing that process is really, really, really important. Hell, the fact that I am streaming, ding, the fact that I am streaming, let me turn this off so I don't bother, so that it doesn't come up on stream. The fact that I am streaming and I'm talking about it and I am accepting criticism from people and all manner of things are all positives and are all positives that you can bring to you can talk about one in your interview or two on the resume. All of this is an experience that you can talk about. You know what I mean? Like, say, for instance, in my streaming, I've decided that somebody comes and says, "Hey, man, this is really cool. Do you mind if I work on it with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure, cool, no problem. I don't mind." You know what I mean? And it's like, I am now the team lead of a to-do app, whatever, but I am now a team lead because somebody is working on this with me. Potentially, I'm the person with the creative vision, and they are helping me with that, right? Like, even if I were to look at I mean, technically, I'm still technically the team lead for this app, even though I'm the only person working on it. I'm still the team lead. You know what I mean? And so what you do is you do this stuff to gain experience, right? Now, I've been talking about a to-do app for a while. You don't have to do a to-do app. You don't have to do an app that's a toy app. You can do an app that literally solves a problem. And the app could be basic, but the value of it solving a problem is could potentially be a good thing, right? And that is an experience, right? So my to-do app may never be actually be used by anybody. I have a friend who literally made a to-do app for for um for a mobile class, and it got used, and he at least up until I stopped talking to him, um he was updating it. That was like 2 years. He was updating it for 2 years, and that was like that can be something important that he talks about. I don't think he ever really did talk about it on his resume, but it's something that he can talk about. You know what I mean? It has users. Like, if your app so pretty much, if I had to just kind of spitball the importance of things that you want your app to have, is if your app has a fair amount of engineering complexity, that it's 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 if it's fairly complex, you know if it's fairly complex, and you actually successfully do this, because you can have an app that's engineering, it's complex, and you don't get it to work. I mean, you never get it to work. It's just all in theory. It's not as good. That doesn't necessarily mean, again, going back to the Randall Kana example, it's not it doesn't have to work, but it's less powerful. But if you have an app with a pretty high engineering complexity, or you have an app that delivers value and you can literally see that value, so like users are using it, and then you can kind of talk about how many users use it, and then you can use that to be like, this is the value proposition of the application. Or um darn it, I had oh, right. Or the application is built very well, right? It's elegant, I guess. It's elegant, right? That's also something that people do. People will look at your code and be like, "Wow, this is really clean code." That's a very important attribute for a software engineer, is to write really clean, readable, extensible code. And so I'm pretty sure there are more attributes to a good application, but if you even really focus on one of those three things, though that's a good project. And then again, you don't even necessarily even have to have one project. You can have multiple projects, you know. You can have multiple projects, or you can have one project that you spend a lot of time on, and then it has a lot of value. Like even me, if say for instance I spend 2 3 months on this to do app, but after 2 3 months I have a to do app that the backend is containerized and is distributed, and then the database is containerized and distributed, or shard, or you have like it's sharded or something. Like the only thing about sharding I know is RAID. Like that's the only thing about sharding I know. And that's just because I messed around with building PCs. I've never even anyways. Um if your application has all of these complexities, but it's a to-do application, that is still something very interesting, because now you can say that I built a a full stack application that a full stack distributed application, um, with all of these various bloody things with what is that? Okay, so this is 2 rings. With all of these things, and the things themselves become the value that you're presenting to the employer. You know what I mean? And it's just stuff like that. And that's how you generate your own experience when you don't have any. Unfortunately, it's time consuming, which sucks. Like generally you want to be able to do this. By the way, you can also do this with open source. Um, like if you contribute to open source, in essence you're doing the same thing. The startup is different, or the not the commitment, sorry. The I guess the commitment is a little different, but like if you join an open source community, if you join an open source project, one, you're almost guaranteed to have another person to work on it, because the open source project will have a contributor. So you'll have like at least one other person to work on the project. Um, and two, you're not committed to the project 100%. Like if I don't write code for this to do app, the to do app doesn't grow. But if I write code for an open source app and then I come back 6 months later and write more code, the app grows, Like you're not committed to the app growing. You're just adding a contribution, but the contribution, depending on the complexity of the contribution and the complexity of the project, um, that's a good thing, Like, anyways, the the gist of it is, put yourself in. If I really had to say this in in sentence, put yourself in scenarios that allow you to write valuable code, or put yourself in scenarios to allow you to write code that is valuable to somebody, right? And again, you have the three attributes: is the complexity of the thing that you're doing particularly high and thus valuable? Is the thing that you've made inherently valuable because people are using it? Or is the thing showcasing like how well you write code? Um, and that is inherently valuable. All of these things are valuable to a junior. You get diminishing returns as you get more um, experienced in your career. Like for instance, the like if you were a senior engineer and you write something, it is fairly expected that you write clean code. You can't write awful code. You know what I mean? And it's more of a hit and miss, but more or less, just assume that you have to write clean code. But technical complexity is still a big deal, and the value of the thing is still a big deal. I mean, going back to the previous conversation about impact, the value of the thing is impact, or is a form of impact. I still need to work on that. But yeah, like pretty much that is it. Um, yeah, pretty much that is it. Uh, yeah. Um, that's definitely like that's the advice that I would give. In essence, again, if I had to sum it up in one sentence, um, put yourself in a position to write code that is valuable to somebody. Um, and then taking that sentence, find who you want that code to be valuable to, and write it specifically for them. You know but yeah, that's pretty much it. Like that's how you generate your own experience. You know, like in doing so, you are literally generating experience. You are literally gaining experience. But specifically, you are gaining experience in the way that you can literally write it down on your resume and say you have 6 months of experience in React. Here's my evidence. And yeah, that's how that's how you generate your own experience. Um, all of these things I probably will eventually either make into maybe a proper video or articles or something. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that. Um, so yeah, I guess we're at the end of the stream, even though this is technically 2 videos. Assuming this even goes up, but well, it will probably go up. But this is the end of the stream. Thank you for everybody for watching. Thank you for the people who are watching this on YouTube. I really appreciate you taking the time out to watch this. So let me sum up what we did. In essence, we worked on one endpoint, but the most important thing is we connected to the MySQL database that is local to my machine. We connected to that database and we were able to send a query to that database. Um, we're able to send a SQL query to that database, but not just from the data layer. We can now send queries from the API layer or from the middleware API layer. I just wanted to say layer everywhere, but um from the API, right? Which is not that much different. We literally constructed the SQL query the same way we would have constructed it in MySQL. Um, but now Node is sending that query as opposed to us literally typing it into MySQL. And we get a result and we process that result and we do stuff with that result. So, in case you were here for the conversation earlier, um, we're still working with the users table because the users table is not related to anything, and so we can make progress without it adding too much complexity to our application to our implementation. So what we are going to work on next is trying to add users through Node, and in that, what will mainly be the focus is um, adding a user to Node. We have to modify the database so that um, usernames are all unique. But we're gonna add a user to Node, and we are going to try and hash a password. And in that hashing, and then we're gonna try and ping the database. Going to try and get the user from the database, but with the hashed password. And that's what we'll be focusing on next. We'll be focusing on next. Um, if if we finish that, then we'll obviously move on. But that's kind of the idea. So again, thank you very much. Um, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. You subscribing to the channel. The channel for people who are watching it here on Twitch, it's Chad Stewart on YouTube. Um, would really appreciate that. Like, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'd really appreciate you following the channel on Twitch. Um, the channel is ChadRStewart. Would really appreciate that. Yeah, that's about it, I think, for the the outro. Thank you very much for watching and have a great one. You have a good one. And now I'm gonna press the stop streaming button. Later.